Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome and thanks for clicking on my awesome thumbnail. Today you will learn what 5 mistakes many people make when they try to become fluent in English or any other foreign language. If you recognize yourself in one or more of them, don't worry, you're definitely not alone. Keep watching this video because it might help you change some of the attitudes you have about language learning. Okay, mistake number 1 is that many language learners think that they wouldn't have to put any effort into acquiring their target language. Why? Because of all those ads that you see online. Start speaking from day 1. Become fluent in a month. Sound like a native speaker in 2 weeks. Never try to memorize vocabulary anymore. Just learn the language naturally. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, acquiring a second language naturally is better than memorizing words out of context, but the truth is that it takes quite a while. I personally have never met a person who became fluent in a foreign language within a month. If you have, please let me know in the comments how they did it, because at this point, I'm sure it's impossible. When it comes to the promise start speaking from day 1, of course you can memorize a few short phrases which you will probably forget the next day, if not sooner. And although that's a great start, it'll take you way longer to produce your own phrases and sentences. Don't get me wrong, I love starting to learn by actually repeating a word or a phrase. This makes you pay attention to new pronunciation patterns and build your confidence. But I just want you to have realistic expectations. Acquiring a new language takes way longer than what the ads on the internet tell you. I think the worst thing about believing that you can be fluent in a new language in a month is that you feel disappointed when you don't achieve it. You start blaming yourself that you're not learning as fast as you're supposed to, and eventually you quit. Mistake number 2 is kind of opposite to the first one. It's putting a lot of effort into memorizing words and drilling grammar out of context. Usually, people who live in their country but try to learn a new language make this mistake. For example, I've seen many people who want to learn English but don't live in an English-speaking country. They sign up for courses that use the old-fashioned method of giving them vocabulary lists and grammar and quiz them on how many words a day they're able to memorize. But there is little focus on speaking. I've personally met many people who've been learning English by memorizing words and drilling grammar out of context, and while they might be able to get a decent score on a test, they still can't hold a simple conversation. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to memorize words at all or understand basic grammar rules. Of course, in order to start speaking, you first need to know some vocabulary and grammar. But you need to put the words you learn into practice as soon as you learn them. Otherwise, they are not going to stick. That's why it's important to focus on vocabulary that you can use right now rather than some fancy terms that you will probably never use. How do you know what words to choose to learn at the moment? Think of vocabulary that is related to your lifestyle so that you can use the new words right away. Immediate practice is essential for retaining new vocabulary, especially in real-life contexts. Learning words that are directly relevant to your daily life and immediate needs helps create stronger memory associations, making the words stick better. This approach also keeps learning practical and motivates you by showing real, tangible progress. Plus, it's more enjoyable to learn things you can immediately put into use rather than abstract or overly specialized terms that might not come up in everyday conversation. For example, when I was planning to go to Portugal last summer, I started learning some phrases in Portuguese a few weeks prior to my trip. I learned how to order some food and drinks, how to ask simple questions like where a particular restaurant is located, how to say that a particular food item or wine is delicious, how much something costs. You know, simple stuff that I could put into practice right away. I wouldn't learn names of exotic animals or plants, scientific or technical terms, advanced math and physics vocabulary, or anatomical and medical jargon. I didn't need such vocabulary for my trip. So think about what you might need to memorize right away and don't burden your brain with vocabulary that you wouldn't be able to put into practice right now. Words like amalgamation, exuberant, perpetual, pertinent, prosecutor, rambunctious, can usually wait until you've built a solid foundation in your target language. That actually leads me to the next mistake, which is being too shy or too scared to speak and to put what you've learned into practice. Many people are afraid of making mistakes and wait until they learn the language better to start using it. Well, you might already know this, but let me say it anyway. You will never become better if you do not speak, period. Like it or not, you will have to go to the making lots of mistakes stage in order to get better. People are going to have confused faces when you try to say something. People are going to ask you to repeat, and yes, people will ask you, where are you from? That's inevitable. If you feel bad about it, that means you're just a normal person. I felt bad for years when I couldn't express some idea or didn't remember a word or mispronounced something, but I kept going. Unfortunately, there are no shortcuts. I'm not going to tell you not to feel bad because that doesn't work. You will feel embarrassed on numerous occasions, but that's okay. It's perfectly normal. You're human. But if you keep going, you will get better way faster. And you know what happens when you get better? You feel good. You feel proud of yourself. Okay, let's move on to the next mistake many learners make, which is wanting to learn only from native speakers. Okay, this is funny, but some people think that if they learn English from a teacher who is not a native speaker of English, they will pick up this teacher's accent. But this is not how it works. I actually wish it were so easy to pick up someone's accent just like that, but it's not. Let me give you a little bit of science here. According to research, after we hit our early teens, it becomes almost impossible to sound like native speakers of our target language. This is because when we're children, we form a solid foundation of our native language phonology, and the sounds of our native language serve as a reference point for decoding the sounds of other languages that are learned later in life. That's why most people who learn a second language as adults will have a foreign accent regardless of their full mastery of grammar and vocabulary. I have another video on this topic. I'll put the link in the description box, so check it out later if you're interested to learn more about why you can't pick up someone's accent just like that. Look, if you believe that learning solely from native speakers will help you improve faster and master the language more efficiently, then by all means, choose to learn only from native speakers. That's entirely your choice and your right, and it's important to follow what you think works best for you. However, it's also worth considering that there are countless excellent teachers whose first language isn't English. These teachers bring unique strengths to the table precisely because they've gone through the process of learning English themselves. They face the same challenges, roadblocks, and moments of confusion that you may be experiencing, and they often have an even deeper understanding of the learning process. Their personal experiences can help them explain concepts in ways that may resonate with you more directly, and they're likely to have developed useful strategies, tips, and tricks that help them succeed. So keep an open mind. Sometimes a non-native teacher might just provide the exact perspective you need to thrive. Another common mistake, one that's quite significant, is trying to separate language from culture. I've often heard students say, I don't want to learn much about American culture. I just want to focus on learning the language. But the truth is, if you're aiming for true fluency and comfort in the language, understanding the culture of its speakers is crucial. Language and culture are deeply intertwined. They shape each other in ways that directly affect how people express ideas, emotions, humor, and even common phrases. Without a cultural context, it's easy to miss nuances, misunderstand social cues, or even misinterpret seemingly simple words and expressions. Learning about the culture can add depth to your language skills and make you a more fluent and confident speaker. There are many engaging ways to immerse yourself in a culture beyond just textbooks or vocabulary lists. For instance, watching movies not only familiarizes you with natural speech, but also exposes you to cultural references, body language, and humor. Exploring local holidays, traditions, and celebrations gives insights into values, customs, and social dynamics that influence language. Trying foods, listening to music, or reading books in the language are also effective ways to build a cultural connection that enhances your understanding. Personally, I found that immersing myself in American culture was incredibly helpful for my language journey. Even before I moved to the US, I loved watching American movies. They gave me a window into the language, but also into the humor, perspectives, and everyday life of native speakers. This cultural knowledge made learning the language easier and more enjoyable. So, if you want to truly master a language, embrace the culture that comes with it. It'll make a noticeable difference in your fluency and confidence. Alright, my friends, let me know in the comments if you have ever made any of the mistakes I mentioned in this video. Please click on the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done it yet. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.